Hello and welcome back to Tommy's Top Picks. Today we have a special guest with us today, my friend AJ.
Hello.
So today we are
Right.
going to be introducing AJ to MetaZoo. I've introduced him to it, but
Yes.
haven't really gone in depth yet. And today we are going to the Caster Society website, which has an amazing restructuring of the rulebook, which is great for new players. But before we do that, I want to shout out another YouTuber, Andrew Stacks, who sent me this Lava Bear t-shirt, which is super rad and super awesome. So
So
thank you,
cool.
Andrew. And so, do you want to talk about yourself, AJ, your history with Magic? So AJ is a
Oh
very
yeah.
long time Magic player. So that's why I wanted to
hmm
bring him on and do a video about MetaZoo, because a lot of people, a good way of describing MetaZoo is almost like a Magic Light with the rules switched up.
Yeah, I'm already seeing some things that make a lot of sense based on the rules that I can see from your screen here.
So
Yeah, I'm a long time Magic player. Yeah, I've not as long as many of them have been. I started around 8th edition, Mirrodin, and then backtracked and actually played a lot of older Magic as well. Um, but I actually met my wife playing Magic too. That was wow, 15 years ago. Goodness, it's been a long time. So I've been playing Magic that whole time. I've seen a lot of its ups and downs, and yeah, fun. It's a good
cool.
time. Look forward to seeing the differences and some of the similarities between these two games.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing Magic with you before I got into MetaZoo, and there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of kind of key differences and things that can be very confusing for Magic players, or things that you're just like, wait, it works. What? And they're very similar
Yeah,
games,
nice.
very similar terms, but they work completely different. And the big one's flying, and we'll get into that.
Okay.
Um,
Ah,
yeah, it's called Flight in MetaZoo. So the way Caster Society has it laid out, they start with a getting started video by Louis from Kitchen Table TCG. A great video. I recommend anyone who wants to get into MetaZoo. This is the first thing you should watch. It's a great breakdown, and then you should come back and watch this because it's an in-depth. Because you probably have played some TCGs, and if you've played some TCGs, you've probably played Magic. So a lot of these terms will help you, and hopefully this video helps you learn the game. So first off, we're going to start with the battleground. Now, what is the battleground? The battleground is the whole arena. That is your side and the opponent's. And we're
sure.
going to break down key terms here. So this is how the board, can we see that okay? Yes. So this is
Right.
how the board breaks down. You have your spell book, which is your deck. Spellbook is your deck, and then you have your side deck for sideboarding in between games, and then you have Limbo, Cemetery, and Afterlife, and those are
Right.
essentially they're three separate graveyards, and different cards go into the different graveyards, and they specify like all beasties go into Limbo, and then spells, artifacts, I believe, go into Cemetery, and then some special cards go into the Afterlife or put cards into the Afterlife. So
So
because
why would you need three separate graveyards, three separate discard piles?
so Magic, there's the graveyard, and then there's what is it, banished?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Gone, removed from the game,
yeah.
banished, I
So
believe is the term now. Yeah.
Afterlife is kind of like that, where it's those places
Okay.
are much harder to get things from, and then there are cards that are easier to pull out of Limbo. So
Got it. All
we can
right.
go over the terms real quick. So spellbook is
Yeah.
your deck. It's made up of pages, which are your cards, and all the pages in your spellbook will remain face down, obviously. You draw 7 cards at the beginning of the game, 7 pages, and those 7 pages form your chapter, which is your hand. And then you draw one at the beginning of every
Nice.
turn, just like Magic. The arena is the whole area. Oh, in the middle is the Terras. So both players can play Terras, and both players gain the bonus effects from Terras. So say you're playing a mirror match, you're both playing water, and one of you puts out the lake. It's not just your cards that gain the Terra bonus of lake, your opponent does as well.
So you're using each other's lands, essentially.
Those are auras, and we'll get into those. So there are
Oh,
auras and
okay.
there are Terras.
Completely different.
Yeah. So Terras are, they're on the side of cards in the top left, below the name on the side. There are these icons, and or no, they're the bottom left. The bottom left, and they'll say like 10 or 10 LP, and when those Terras are in effect, they gain that 10 health or they gain that 10 extra damage. And you have 6 slots for these Terras. What?
So it's a buff for your creatures.
Correct.
Kind of. All right. Nice. Yeah. Okay.
And they stay
think,
on.
Think of it as global enchantments.
Yes. Then. Yep. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And they affect specific cards. That's why it's good to build theme decks, because they share the same Terra bonuses. So you typically only play one of the Terras in your deck, because once it's out there, very few decks run 3 different Terras. And so even if both of you were playing decks with 3, even if you got all of them out, they don't cycle out until the 7th is played.
Okay. So they don't stick around and hold the slots. Correct. If you play another one and there were 6 of them out there, one of them's going to go away.
Right. So if there are 6 out and the 7th is played, the first one that came into play will be replaced.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
And then limbo, like I said, is when a beastie or artifact is destroyed. It's placed in its owner's limbo. Cemetery is for spells and potions. So as soon as beasties stay on the board or in the battlefield until they're destroyed, and the spells and potions, once they're contracted or played, resolve its effects, and then you place it immediately into the owner's cemetery.
Much like an instant or sorcery.
Right. And there are cards that say you may play this at any time, and those are then instant. And then there are all the other spells you have to play on your turn, so sorcery.
Got it.
And then the afterlife is when an aura or Terra is destroyed. It's placed into the afterlife. And then pages can also be placed there under special conditions. So there are some spells and beasties that say when you kill a beastie, send it to the afterlife.
Okay. All right.
Which makes it a little bit harder to then bring back.
To get it back, yeah, as opposed to it being in limbo.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Then we'll move on to the dictionary. So this is a great resource to kind of learn the different terminology of the game. So the arena, like we said, is the whole play area. And
entire battlefield,
yeah. So aura is your resource used to pay the cost of pages, which are your cards. So auras are land, and they work just like Magic, where you can only play one a turn. However, what I find interesting about MetaZoo, it's a 40-card deck, but there's only some decks only run like 5 or 6 auras.
Interesting.
Because it's kind of based off of the highest cost pages in your deck, if that makes sense.
Got it.
So, like,
are auras separate from your deck in some way? Like,
no,
do you get them out faster?
No, they are in your deck. So it's like Magic. You are drawing. So you might want to mulligan if you only have 1 aura in your hand.
Interesting. But if you only have 5 in the deck, how are you guaranteed to kind of pull those out of there?
You have a hand of 7. And if you mulligan once,
40-card deck,
cycling 14 cards of the 40 deck.
That's a good point. All right.
And so
So mulligans go right into your graveyard, or
no,
their
mulligans go
your
right back into
graveyard.
your deck, and then you shuffle back in. It's right at the
Okay,
beginning of
so
the
it's just
game.
a 14 card chance to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
get it. Got it.
Well, 13
Okay.
because you draw back up 6, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can actually
Yeah.
keep mulliganing until you're down to 1 card.
Yeah.
So
Much like original Magic. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Then you have the battleground, which is the entire play area, and then
Mm-hmm.
the bookmark. So drawing a card is called bookmarking.
Interesting.
And
I like that concept.
yeah, hold on. We are getting blown up with notifications. I'm going to change that real quick. Notifications are disabled. Why is that still popping up? All right. Hopefully that didn't disrupt things too much. Okay. So yeah, bookmarking is drawing cards, and you draw from the top of your spellbook. Player is a caster, so a lot of cards will refer to the caster. That is the player. And then you have your chapter, which is your hand. Contracting is playing a card, and then paying the aura cost. And then fatiguing, which is kind of the same as magic. You turn it sideways 90 degrees, and then that is now fatigued. And then at the beginning of your turn, you awaken everything. So like here you see is this card is awakened, and then you fatigue it to use it.
Nice. Got it.
And then yeah, page is a card and a spellbook is a deck. Which I find
I like all that
that
working together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chapter is your hand. That's great.
So it's
I
like it's your
really like
spell
the
book. I like the
Yeah. It
I think
draws it all in. It makes that theme really stick. That's great.
I think it's creative.
Very.
So these are the general rules. So this is kind of the basic 15 things you should know before you start playing. Pages must remain where they are played. You may not move any pages in the arena unless a rule or page specifically allows it. So you have your arena, right? And you play a card. It doesn't matter where you play it in the arena, but once you contract it, you cannot move it around. Like you can't reorganize your cards.
Interesting.
Because some cards will specify the closest beastie or the closest page, or like the flying manta ray is his special ability allows him to basically fly and move to another page and give that page flight. So but it has to be touching that card. So it actually matters where it is in the arena.
That's an interesting way of making the arena feel real. Yeah. As opposed to, every Magic player has their different where their deck goes, where their graveyard goes, where they put their land. I've seen plenty of people put their land in front of their creatures. That's fascinating. That's classic. You see someone do that, they've been around for a very long time.
But
that's fascinating. I like that.
There are only a few interactions that really matters for, but I think it's something down the road that they can really play with that I find really fun.
Yeah. That's cool.
So unless otherwise stated, all pages enter the arena fatigued, other than Aura and Terra, which enter the arena awakened. So when you play your land and when you play your Terras cost nothing to contract, and neither do your Auras. But you can only play one Aura per turn. I think you can play as many Terras as you have in your hand per turn. Maybe we'll get to that. But I'm pretty sure you can play out any. So if say you started your hand with like a lake and a river, you can put both of those down, but you can only put one Aura down. And then there is... Yep.
So auras, which are like land,
yes.
Obviously they don't come into play fatigued, just like lands don't in Magic. Would there be a way you could fatigue Terra to use them, or are they fatigued when you use them?
Yes. Yeah.
Or are they just passive effects? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so you
All right.
fatigue your aura, like you tap a land to then
Yeah.
pay a cost.
Okay. How about Terra? Because
Terra,
those are like the active
yeah,
effects.
those are just
Like.
always active. So those are always giving
Okay.
you
Got it.
the bonuses for the beasties that have that Terra bonus.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and those are the shared effects.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so when a page is used to generate aura, attack, defend, or use a power, you must fatigue it. A fatigued page cannot be fatigued again until it is awakened. So their aura is pretty self-explanatory. Attacking and defending is pretty self-explanatory. Defending doesn't come into play too much because one, yeah, you're defending and then you fatigue it, but then you have then on you're gonna, because you're defending, you're going to attack, you're gonna start your turn next, so you're going to awaken at the beginning of your turn. But the key word here is when you use a power. So you cannot use a power and your attack. So some minions have an attack and then they have they have a power. And
Much like a magic card that would have that would go to attack, or it has a tap ability.
right, yeah,
Got it. Okay.
yeah. So you could only use the tap or the attack, and
Because
then
it's tapped, then it's
right,
fatigued.
right. And but there are beasties with fleet, which we'll get into, which is basically it enters awakened.
Like having haste.
Correct. Yeah, exactly like having haste.
Um,
Starting to notice all the similarities
yeah,
here.
similarities. Perfect.
There's a lot of them.
Backtracking to defend real
Yeah.
quick. If they are already fatigued because they attacked, how are they able to defend? Or do you attack a beastie
You
one on
get
one?
yeah, so unlike Magic where don't have you can only choose to attack or defend, you don't choose who you attack. In this you can target a beastie with an attack.
Got it. All right.
So you can target a specific one. But if your opponent has
Okay.
an awakened beastie, they can fatigue it to basically get in front of that attack and block it.
All right. So you can defend for your own beasties
Correct.
if
And you
something's
can
being attacked.
correct. So say you have like a glass cannon out and then you have a tank, you leave your tank that doesn't do much damage awakened, and then you save your glass cannon from that incoming attack that is obviously being targeted at it.
Nice. All right. I'm starting to see it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so number 4, aura pages may be fatigued on any player's turn to generate aura. So essentially you can use your aura on your turn or their turn.
Yes.
If it is, but you
Lands.
don't, like lands, they don't awaken until your next turn.
Until your turn. Yep.
So
Perfect.
and there is a spell called Dampen, which is counterspell. Basically just straight up counterspell. Which
nice.
Would be, yeah, and you may play it at any time.
Happy blue players.
There's so yeah, the upgrade deck I did was any Magic player that's looking to get into MetaZoo, if you like blue decks, pick up the Nightfall Water deck. It is really fun.
Nightfall Water.
Then
excellent.
Let's see. Number 5, to contract a page, yep. You must pay its aura cost, meet any additional requirements for the page, and then place it into the arena. So basically, you must fatigue, and then you play. So fatiguing your aura generates the aura to then cast to contract the page.
The amount that you need.
Correct. And then sometimes
sounds like this is. Sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes there are, as an additional cost, you must X or you must Y.
Got it.
What were you going to say?
It sounds like this is less like magic in that you don't create mana that you then use. You have to pay the cost by fatiguing the aura at the same time that you
No,
use
it's
it.
like Magic where you
Oh, okay.
fatigue it to generate it, and then you
Oh, all
use
right.
that to pay. But if
Interesting. Okay.
you, for some reason, you fatigued 3 aura, and then paid paid for a 2 drop, you lose that 1 extra resource at the end of your turn.
That one. Got it.
So
Makes
that
sense.
doesn't
Yep.
carry over to your opponent's turn to then use another spell on their turn.
Okay.
Number 6, it does not cost any aura to attack, defend, or activate powers, but you must fatigue the page. So again, to attack and use your powers, it doesn't, just like Magic, it doesn't cost. But
Makes sense.
yeah, pretty straightforward. 7, if a page's life points become 0 at any time, it is destroyed. So life points are reduced to 0. Pretty self-explanatory. When a beastie or artifact is destroyed, it is placed into limbo unless otherwise stated. So artifacts are really cool. They are like artifacts in Magic, and but they have life points. So
all right.
there are they are now all on the reserve list because MetaZoo has a reserve list. There are artifacts that are basically mana rocks, which have 50 life points, and if you fatigue them, it generates 2 aura of that color, and they're free to play.
Okay.
But they come in fatigued, so you can't use them on the turn you're played. But then the next turn you awaken them, and then you have 2 extra. But it's kind of one of those things where you have to defend it.
Yeah, you have to keep it.
It's a big target, yeah, and it's low life points. And then there's one called Chaos Crystal, which can generate 3 aura of any color, but it only has 25 life points opposed to the others that have 50.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So a big glass cannon target that you
Yeah.
gotta defend if we're gonna drop it.
Yeah. And then in night, so those are all from Cryptid Nation, the first set, and then the second set, Nightfall, they have the basically dual lands, where it's like generate 1 lightning and 1 earth, generate I forget the other combinations, but basically two different aura types, and there are neutral costs. So it might be, say, a beastie costs 2 water, 1 neutral, so you could use that other color in the dual aura to to pay that neutral cost.
So it actually produces both
electric
and water.
Yeah, when you fatigue it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's better than dual lands.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it actually generates both. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
When a we did 8. Yep. Number 9. When an effect allows a caster to search through their spellbook for a specific type or page, the caster may choose to complete the search without choosing a page. After the caster searches their spellbook, they must shuffle their spellbook. So essentially, if you have a fetch card that you are going to then go pull something out, and then you decide against it, or just can't decide what to pull for whatever reason, you can decide, I'm not going to grab something. But you are able to then shuffle your deck. Got it. You have to shuffle your deck. Yeah. 10. When a spell or potion is contracted, it is placed into the cemetery immediately after it is resolved. We went over that. All pages and effects resolve in a first in, last out order. So the stack.
The stack.
If more than one effect would activate simultaneously at the start or end of the turn, the active player gets to choose in which order they resolve.
Easy enough to remember.
Right, yeah. During your turn, it's not, unlike Magic where there are phases. There are still phases, but you say I could attack with 1 beastie and then play my aura and then attack with another beastie and then play a spell and attack with my 3rd beastie. It's not broken up into.
I see.
You get to.
There's no main phases versus combat versus. Okay.
Right.
All right. That makes it a little trickier. You
Right.
can like
Right.
pick that order so that you get that turn just right to
Right.
really mess the enemy up. It's great.
Uh, number 12. You may contract Terra during your turn for no aura cost. Any Terra in the arena can be used to activate Terra bonuses. So yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
13. Any damage dealt to pages or casters remains between turns. So unlike Magic, where your um, minions go back to full health at the end of your turn, damage is persistent, like Pokemon.
Interesting. Okay.
There is a trait
Oh,
called regen that they slowly heal back up over time, but
nice.
it's
Nice.
yeah, its damage is
Hey,
permanent. And
awesome.
there are some cards that reduce life points, so that reduces your total of life points available to you. Opposed to, so if it says reduce LP, that's reducing your max life points. But
That's life points on the beastie.
yeah,
Is that
so
correct?
say
Okay.
the beastie has 40 life points. It says reduce life points LP by 10. Then they now have a cap of 40, and they are at 40 if they were at full health. Let's see. All generated aura that is unspent disappears at the end of the turn it was generated. We talked about that. And 15, if a caster has 0 pages in their spellbook, they continue playing until a winner is decided. So that's pretty big. I just realized
that's a big difference. Yeah.
you can't see that.
Oh, I can see it.
You can see it. There we go. So, yeah, that makes a huge difference, and it's similar to Flesh and Blood. In Flesh and Blood, you don't lose when you deck out; you just are gonna take a beating. But
yeah, because you're not gaining any more cards. Yeah,
right. But like in Magic, you run out of your deck, you're done.
yeah.
That's the whole
Mill
point of
decks
mill.
are very prevalent in Magic.
Yeah,
Actually, very recently, rogue mill decks were a big deal, big meta.
I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, you did.
Them crafty boys.
Oh man.
But yeah, I
All
find that
right.
really
All
interesting.
right.
So basically, like and I think that is because it's a 40 card deck, so you're gonna go through it, and you have 1,000 life points. So there are some matchups that will go down to that being decked out. Like if you have a control versus a control that's not really doing much damage per turn,
Yeah.
it can definitely go to that, and then it's just who has the last beastie standing. But
So
any
1,000
questions?
life points for
Yes.
your caster,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that's your life.
Yes.
And then the beasties have their own life points,
Correct.
which you whittle down, like in Magic,
Yes.
damage counters and such.
Yep.
All right. And so your goal is to clear their beasties enough that you can start attacking the caster.
You can attack the
Can you?
caster directly
I assume you can't. Okay, and then they would have to have
to
beasties
block.
available to defend.
Correct.
Oh, all right. So you can pull a red deck wins where you're just all out swinging away with your beasties, but your life points, your personal life points, your caster's life points will be wide open,
Yes.
just like in Magic.
Correct.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All
There's
right.
a green aggro deck, Fearsome Critters, that's been wreaking havoc on the meta. But yeah. So, and I've been trying to build that red deck wins with Piazza Bird. Not going as well as the Fearsome Critters, but I'm having fun with it. Let's see.
That's cool.
So, any
Yeah.
questions on like the general rules so far?
I don't think so. It's
Okay.
pretty straightforward. There
Yeah.
aren't too many differences.
Yeah. It's
so far.
the main differences, honestly, are the personality or the vocabulary.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
this is the page layout. Let's see. So we'll start with the fourth wall effects that I have highlighted here. These are what turned people off about this game the most. And if they got to this point in their interest and are watching this video, they will understand that these are not as big of a deal or concern as you might think, because a lot of people think that they're ridiculous. A lot of them can be if you're wearing a bandage, if you're near water, if like you have a glass of water near you, or I'm blanking on them. Like this page's attack deals 25 damage plus 25 damage if they are if there's coal within eyesight. And then contract, create 2 dynamite tokens, which have 10 life points. They're fire artifacts, flame artifacts, with the effect destroyed. When destroyed, deal 20 damage to target caster. So,
that's excellent.
I think MetaZoo is really smart, and they, on the casual level, you're free to decide whether you include them or not, or if you want to go full bore and just anything goes, or if you want to actually make people bring things for local events or whatever. But the official kind of tournaments that have been going on, there is a list of the fourth wall effects that are legal. So not all of them are actually legal to use in competitive play. And from that list, you are allowed to pick 4 of those things.
Oh, wow.
So
it prevents people from bringing like a sack of like, I've got coal in here.
Right.
I got all these different things that I need. So that I have them right here on the table next to me.
Right. So you actually, you present your deck list, and then you present your 4 fourth wall picks. And then you usually write them down, and then you have them on a notebook next to you. So if anyone questions you, you can slide it over and be like, see, these are my 4. I submitted them. Which I find really interesting. And some decks, like, honestly, the Loveland Frogman, I only use the 1, which is a glass of water for Loveland. But I think they put on the appearance that they are not the most serious competitive side, and I don't think they honestly are, but they are they have a more competitive game than people give them credit for, which I find interesting. But it takes a certain person with a certain interest to dive so deep to figure that out right now, while the game's so young. Yeah. So, but once I explain that to people are like, oh, so I don't have to do all the weird, crazy things? No. No.
What's interesting is these weird, crazy things aren't unfamiliar to Magic players. If you've played any of the unsets, the unsets were very into these things.
Yeah.
You were doing crazy stuff like affecting people like 3 games over with your own cards.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting. I remember, was it Carnivorous Death Parrot was a very interesting card because it literally said every time you attack with him, he was like a 2/1 flyer for 1, but every time you attack with him, you had to say save a kill spell to deal with this guy, otherwise you had to sacrifice him. So it was a really interesting dynamic there with the unsets, and that's cool. They have this included.
Yeah. So there's one that John refuses to do with me, which is I think it's you have to enter in a staring contest, and the loser loses 100 life points. Which I think is just great. It's just like you're having this competitive game, and then you're just like, staring contest.
There was an uncard like that. There was literally an uncard where you took the game, you set the entire game of Magic aside, and you started a mini game of Magic with a new hand and like 5 or 10 life points.
Yeah.
Like that was it. And then once you finished that, you got a bonus for whoever won that game of mini Magic.
Yeah.
It was great. It was fantastic. I love this. I love that.
It's really cool. So then you have your an attack effect, which is on this
Okay.
one, destroy all dynamite tokens in the arena and deal 10 damage to all opposing pages for each dynamite token that's destroyed. So you are doing widespread damage, and you are doing a lot of it, especially because you can have 3 of these headless. We'll get to that, but the spellbook limit. But you can have 3 of these in your deck,
Oh, I see.
so you can be pumping
Okay.
out, and you have other pages that can put out dynamite tokens. So this is kind of
Mm-hmm.
the
Build
this is
that theme.
yeah, this is in that red deck wins.
Got
Um,
it.
and then you'll notice the earth symbol next to it, which means it is strong against
Mhm.
earth, which means it does an additional 20 damage. And then the card by default is strong against earth, or forest and ice, which is down in the bottom left. But I think that's a whole thing we'll get to.
Got it.
Yeah, then you have the attack
Name and
name and base damage. So it's fiery pick, it does 50 damage. Or
Yep.
attack advantage, so it has an advantage against earth. Aura cost.
Nice.
So in the top right, you see it costs 3 flame and 1 neutral aura to cost it. The addition, which is for the collectors, down in the bottom left, it'll say first or second edition. Or Kickstarter. No, I think the Kickstarters actually say first edition, but then they have a little Kickstarter logo in the bottom right of the art. And then effects and powers. So that star, that fourth wall, is only that first line. The contract still
Got
happens.
it. Yeah.
So that always happens. So that's like the on play effect, which in Magic is called
the enters the battlefield abilities.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Then it has.
Now, are they always on contract, or I
No.
guess it says effects and power, so that could be
Yeah.
like a fatigue ability where it uses a power.
Correct. Yeah.
Instead of attack.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Then there's the flavor text. So all of the cryptids are actually based on real cryptid lore in the world. Right now they're doing mainly North America, but they plan to do like Europe and Japan and all these other parts of the world where there's all this folklore and myths and legends and just I don't know. I think that's really cool. Like, I mean, Bigfoot and Mothman and a ton that I'm learning about. But if you Google all of these things, they actually come up, and they're stories like of sightings or whatever.
That's so neat.
Yeah. Top right, it's pretty self-explanatory. Life points. Metadata. So this is where it goes in the bar right below the art. It goes into some more of the lore where it says like the date of birth, where it's located, GPS, its weight, and its length. And depending on where it's from, it'll be in like inches or centimeters or kilograms or pounds, which I find funny.
That's great. Yeah.
And then pages have types. So this is a spirit beastie. And then they will have there are tribes, and you can get tribal boosts from playing beasties from the same tribe.
Okay. All right.
Set number, just like Magic, bottom right, is just the card number in the set. Set symbol, so you can tell what set it's from, is in the top left. Spellbook limit. This is a key gameplay feature where it's not like in Pokemon you can have 4 of a card in a deck. In Magic,
same with Magic. Yeah. Yep.
And so this one, each page has its own limit. There are pages where you can have 10 in your deck. This one you can have 3. And then there's some where you can only have 1. We might be having a visitor here. Harley's coming to say hi. You want to say hi?
Hello.
You want to say hi? So we got Oh, and so here are the Terra bonuses in the left here by the pick.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's why I assumed those were.
yeah,
Okay.
so if the Mountain Terra is in play, it deals an additional 25 damage, and if it's the Nighttime Terra is in play, it gains an additional 25 damage. If both are in play, this guy is swinging for 100.
That's awesome.
Then we have traits in the top left. So this has Spirit. It's a Spirit trait, which means it cannot be the target of an attack.
Oh.
It can be defended. So when it is attacking, it can be defended by anything, but it cannot be the target of an attack. So to remove these, you're using spells.
Got it. So not quite like not like hexproof.
Right.
Spells can still take care of it.
Right.
Okay. All right. You just can't target it with your creatures.
Right. Yeah, and tribe we talked about on the top above the name. And then the type advantage we talked about as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Seems like it's really pulling in a lot of ideas from Pokemon as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And
type advantage. Yeah.
And there are a lot of people were concerned about that as well. Does this become a rock paper scissors kind of a game? No. That little bit of it. Okay. Yes, it does like 20 extra damage, but that does not win you or lose you the game.
Got it. Yeah.
It gives you an advantage, but sure.
Yeah. Whereas in Pokemon, it's like they're weak to it, so you do twice the damage.
Right. Right.
So all right, it's just a little extra boost if you're against the right enemies.
Right.
That's
right.
cool. All right.
Yeah. Any questions on the page layout? There's a lot of information on a card.
There is, but there is in Magic too.
Yeah.
It's really no different. It's just knowing what each of those symbols means. So
right.
Not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I still keep a rule book up on another tab, or they give you these little tiny rule books. I'll usually have one next to it.
Yeah.
And some of them are hard to see too. Like my biggest grief is where it says fiery pick. I think it's a burn counter. No, burn or paralyze. I'll have to look into that one. But and we'll get into the status effects shortly. But
okay,
the status effects they have a hand, and then like either a little flame or a little paralyze next to it in the hand, and it's so small and it's so hard to tell the difference. It's pretty infuriating. I have to like pull up with my eyes. I have to like pull up a big tab and just be like, what is that? And another reason to go to Caster Society is because they have the pages, and then they have the status effects blown up, so you can see it.
Nice. Perfect.
So then we'll move on to the spell book. So this is kind of your deck info. So you have, it must contain at least 40 pages in it, but there's no max. I find most decks are typically around 40, somewhere between 40, 45, just for consistency. Your spellbook can compose of beasties, spells, artifacts, potions, terrors, auras. Spellbook limit applies to the spellbook and side deck. If a page says 1 per spellbook, then you can only have 1 in your spellbook or side deck, which makes sense because how do you sideboard in
3 more of this copy that says 1 in the deck, and then you
right. Side deck info. You are allowed a side deck of 15 pages that you can use to modify your spellbook between games. Side decks are not required. Before beginning multiple games with the same opposing caster, you must show your side deck and the number of pages in it, but you are not required to show which pages are in it. So basically, you have to show that you are not adding more cards, but you don't have to show them which ones.
Makes sense.
You can only use a side deck after your first game. So when you're playing your first game, you cannot side deck against that opponent. But when you go into your second game, you can. When using a side deck between games, your spellbook and side deck must end up with the same number of pages in it before the start of your next game. So they have to always match. If you're taking one in, you're taking one out. At the end of the game, all pages put in the spellbook from the side deck must be placed back into the side deck. Yeah, all pretty straightforward
this
deck
is
building.
much like Magic. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have the aura types. We don't need to go into this too much. It's pretty. It just shows the strong against, weak against. So we got cosmic and dark and earth, fire, forest, frost, light, lightning, neutral, spirit, water. Pretty straightforward. And then they have the attack advantages. So yeah, here's a good example.
Okay.
Some beasties might have an aura symbol next to the beastie's attack to indicate that the attack does an additional 20 damage to the primary defender that has the same aura type. So here, the Beast of Bladenborough would deal 50 damage instead of the 30 damage for rapid charge. Does that make sense?
Nice. Yep. Perfect.
Page types. We kind of already went over this. There's the aura pages, the beasties, the spells, potions. Potions always cost 0 to contract, and they're single use.
Oh.
And they act like spells. They go right into your cemetery once you play them. But there are certain cards that say, like the potion vendor. There are cards that interact with potions specifically instead of spells. So that's why there are 2 different card types. Artifacts have life points and can be attacked. Some have traits, abilities, and or powers. These are just examples of the different types. Lightning in a bottle. These are all really good cards, actually. Besides,
yeah, I saw Mothman right on there. I was like, all right.
Honestly, I think Mothman's kind of like the Charizard, where it's decent, but it's not meta, but just everyone wants it because it's valuable.
Got it. Oh yeah.
Potion. The Lightning in a Bottle is a ridiculous card. It costs 0, so you can actually, even though it's lightning, you can play it in any deck because it costs 0. And because you don't need to generate an electric aura to play it, and it awakens a target beastie, and this beastie gains first strike until end of turn.
Wow.
Right? So you can play a beastie, play a Lightning in a Bottle, and awaken it, and it's like it has haste. And you can have 5 of these in your spellbook.
Now I know we're gonna get to this in a little bit with the status effects. First strike, do beasties hit each other at the same time, just like in Magic?
No.
Okay.
The attacker attacks, the defender defends. If the attacker kills the beastie, or if the attacker kills the target does not attack back. But if the attacker does not kill the target, the defending hits back, and they are both does permanent damage. So there is a defense. Like, the defense is they are taking the damage. If they are still alive, they will hit back.
Okay. That makes sense.
However, if the defender has first strike, they will hit first.
So first strike's really only for defense.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Nice. Interesting.
And
okay.
then like the Flying Manta Ray has an ability that his attack ignores first strike. So
all right,
they use it in different
kind of
ways.
getting around.
Oh, here's an example of the artifact, the Mermaid Scales. Cost 0, has 50 health, life points. You may fatigue this page at any time to generate 2 water.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is what?
Like seeing the early stages of Magic.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Status effects. So status effects are dangerous conditions that may be inflicted upon beasties, artifacts, or casters. A target may only have 1 status effect indicator of each type on it, except for poison. This means that a page or a caster already inflicted with burn cannot suffer burn again until burn indicator is removed. If the status effect indicator is removed from a target in any way, the status effect ceases. All status effects indicators are removed from a page when it leaves the arena. Additionally, if an attack lists a status effect symbol next to its damage value, an opposing page in combat may be inflicted with the status effect. See each status effect for details about determining if the status effect applied as a result of an attack. In cases with multiple defenders, status effects only affect the primary defender.
Okay.
So this is what I mean by, see how it's like a little hand and then frozen and then
Oh, so teeny.
like the graphic designer in me is just like, that hand doesn't need to be there. Just put,
not in the least.
Just put the burn. Just put the snowflake. But yeah, so the status effects, yeah, and then you have like paralyze, which is the same thing.
Okay.
But then you have sleep, which is just Z's, which is easy to read, or scared, or poison. Like those are great. Confusion, those are great. The hands, they need to go. So the first one's frozen. Can affect artifacts and beasties, but not casters. When a page is inflicted with frozen, place a frozen indicator on the page, fatigue that page, and place counters on the indicator equal to X. At the start of every turn, remove a counter from the frozen indicator. When you remove the final indicator this way, awaken the page. When a frozen page takes any damage outside of the combat in which it was inflicted with frozen, so not if it takes damage while getting the status effect frozen, that doesn't count. But if it takes damage again after that initial attack, remove the frozen indicator from this page. A frozen page
shatters the ice.
Right.
Yep.
A frozen page cannot awaken under any circumstances. Start of turn, page effect, or any other action. So it is frozen there for X amount of turns depending on the attack. So they will have the little frost icon and then in parentheses 1, 2, 3, etc. for how many turns it will be frozen.
Nasty.
So,
I like it.
Yeah. Burn, which is in the flame deck that I'm working on, can affect beasties or casters. When a page is inflicted with burn, place a burn indicator on the page. This is one that really confuses people because you're like, oh no, I'm going to be taking damage consistently over turn. No. When and you can inflict a caster with burn, which is really interesting. So you place a burn indicator in front of the caster when the caster is infected with burn. Roll a die, a d6, and place a number of counters on the burn indicator equal to the result of the roll. At the start of every turn, remove a counter from the burn indicator. When there are no counters left on the burn indicator, remove it from the page or caster. While a caster is burned, that caster loses 20 life points every time they declare an attack with a beastie they control. So you, a caster, are burned. If you have a bunch of tiny minions, every time they're not burned, but you are. But every time you fatigue one of those to attack, you're losing 20 life until that burn is gone. So a caster getting hit with burn is a much bigger deal than a beastie, because when a beastie gets it, it loses 20 life points each time an attack is declared with that beastie. So you can just have him sit out or basically be frozen for those turns.
Wait for a little bit.
Right, but the advantage of burn is if the trade-off is worth it, say you're going to kill something and you're going to only take the 20 damage, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
To just take the 20 damage and then remove the beastie.
Interesting.
With poison, can affect beasties or casters again, not artifacts. A page or caster may have up to 3 poison indicators on it. When a page is inflicted with poison, place a poison indicator on the page. When a caster is inflicted with poison, place a poison indicator in front of the caster. Poison pages and casters lose life points equal to 10 times the number of poison indicators on it at the end of every turn. A poison indicator is removed at the start of the 3rd turn from which it was placed.
Interesting. Okay.
So that is the
So you-
poison is the damage over time.
yeah, and you need to keep track of how many turns those poison counters have been on, because I'm
Right.
assuming each of the three has its own separate counter on it
Yes. Yeah.
to keep track of.
Yeah. So you can. Poison is the exception where multiple indicators can be put on. All the others are just single. Actually, paralyze might. We'll get to that one next. But I think that's it. So with paralyze, it can affect beasties only beasties. When a page is inflicted with paralyze, flip a coin, and if heads, place a paralyze indicator on the page. Paralyzed pages are considered to have no effect text, so no attack, no effect, no spells, no special abilities. All of their attacks damages become 0 after applying other modifiers. So even if you, so it doesn't become 0, and then if you buff it, it has that buff.
Yeah.
It's after the modifiers.
Got it.
And they lose all effects, and they cannot attack or defend. Remove the paralyzed indicator from the page at the end of the next turn from when the indicator was placed. So it's one turn, but it is just gone, essentially. But the other thing is it can still be attacked, but as when it's defending, when it's attacking back, it's attacking for 0. So things can attack it without the risk of it dying.
Got it. So it defending itself is not the same as the keyword defend there.
Correct.
Because it says it cannot attack or defend.
Right. So this is when I declare it the target of an attack with one of my beasties or a spell.
Got it. Yeah. All right.
So then we have sleep, which I think is the scariest status indicator we have in the game. It's basically just don't touch it and it's gone, essentially. It can affect beasties only. When a page is inflicted with sleep, flip a coin, and if heads, place a sleep indicator on the page and fatigue the page. A sleeping page cannot awaken under any circumstances. Start of turn, page effect, or any other action. When a sleeping, so you can't use a lightning in a bottle to awaken it. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Whenever a sleeping page becomes the target of an attack, then you can remove the sleep indicator from it. When a sleeping page takes any damage outside of the combat in which it was inflicted with sleep, double the damage, remove the sleep indicator from the page, and awaken it.
Wow.
So if you attack a sleeping beastie, it is going to take twice as much damage.
Yeah, it is.
Which is wild.
That's nasty. You coup de grace it while it's asleep.
Yep. And it's a key.
Wow.
So Loveland Frogman, which is one of the top meta decks right now, basically it's Loveland Lockdown, where you basically lock down your opponents by putting so it puts all of these status effects on a beastie, is the power essentially. And not only that, but you don't have to flip a coin. They are all assumed heads.
Oh no. That's so powerful.
Yeah. And it's magic proof, which means it can't be targeted by spells. So the objective is to then put the Frogman out there and then just start putting things to sleep. And then you throw your big guys out there, and then you just start wailing because they don't have anything as everything's asleep. And you can have 2 Loveland in your deck, and so you can have 2 things being put to sleep every single turn.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
Bonkers.
Next one, scared. Can affect beasties when a page is inflicted with scared. Place a scared indicator on the page. Anytime the page would be fatigued, flip a coin, and if tails, return the page to its owner's chapter. So you are bouncing it back to their hand. If heads, remove the scared indicator from the page.
Okay.
So it's basically
not guaranteed.
Right,
yeah.
Right. But scared is a much more common effect. So it will happen. Decks that run scared, you will be flipping that coin a lot. And it's very scary every time. Because Confusion is our last status effect. Can affect beasties when a page is affected with confusion. Place a confusion indicator on the page. Anytime a page with confusion would deal damage with an attack, flip a coin, and if tails, deal that much damage to the page that used the attack instead and remove the confusion indicator. If heads, the attack occurs normally.
My goodness.
So you're hitting yourself. You're hitting yourself.
Yep.
I mean, that's straight out of Pokemon. But
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I find these really
Harsh.
fascinating. These are probably the most complicated parts of the game to understand and to read on the card because of the hands. But
That's fair,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think honestly, if you understand all the status effects and how they work, you're 90% there. That's the most complicated thing, which they are mostly taken from other games, but work slightly differently, and
yeah, to a degree.
And it all really matters of when they are awakening and when they are, if they're awakened, if they're fatigued, what that means, when they awaken, when they can't. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, and combining them as well is also.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Now we have any questions on the status effects before we?
No.
Okay.
They're pretty straightforward. They're different, which is really cool to me because like there's so many different statuses and things you can do in other games like Pokemon and even in Magic there's a few things. But they're always like they're either super simple like in Pokemon or they're called out very specifically. So it's fascinating to have something as interesting as these status effects as just like a little indicator.
Oh yeah, and
so
the amount of times when I'm playing and it's just like, oh wait, oh that's powerful, because you're like, oh that doesn't sound so bad, and then you're in game and you're like, oh now I can't
because of all
do
these status
that.
effects.
Right.
That's what it does. Oh,
it makes you rethink your game plan.
Yeah, that's cool.
Next up is just terras. So these are all the different examples of the different terras. There's city, dawn, desert, daytime, dusk, farm, forest, fog, full moon, ground, lake, island, lightning storm, meteor shower, mountain, nighttime, North Pole.
North Pole.
Which is part of the Christmas promos. Ocean,
excellent.
Raining, river, stars, snowing, suburban, swamp, and winter.
Interesting, they have snowing and they have winter.
Yeah. Kind of like lake and river, and so the frost. So each one, each like aura type has a couple. They don't just have the one. So it's not like I'm playing dark, so I only need the night terra. I might need like stars, or I might need lake, or I might need swamp, or I might need. So what are the Terra pages? Terra pages trigger Terra bonuses and fourth wall effects when you are unable to satisfy a page's requirements with your physical surroundings. For example, if you're playing in a desert while playing a page with river Terra bonuses, you may place a river Terra page on an available Terra slot in order to gain the Terra bonus. So there are, when I was talking about the 4 different fourth wall effects you can bring to an event, the event will tell you, this is honestly, I think this is really, really big for the game and how it is going to prevent stale metas moving forward, is every event has active terras. So they will tell you, all right, we are playing in the desert, we are playing during the day, we are playing. So these are the active terras that everyone has active when they go to play. So you don't need to include those in your deck. They are already active from the start of the game.
Now you've played in tournaments before in like at a game store, right?
Not MetaZoo, only online so far.
Oh, okay. All right.
Unfortunately, there are no stores around me that hold
Gee-
MetaZoo. I am pushing 2 stores, and they both said when they said when they start MetaZoo, they will let me know, and I will be a part of that beginning. But
Nice.
until then, I think stores are struggling to even keep their doors open for the games
Oh
that they
yeah.
are already trying
It is a
to.
tough market right now.
Yeah, and it's not only that, but there are only certain time slots, and they don't want to
Mhm.
push move time slots or remove time slots from the other games that they already have people coming for, which is totally
Exactly.
understandable. They already have
Yeah.
people coming in for the game that night, and they
Yep.
have. I think it's going to be post COVID when they don't have to have limits on how many people can be in the store, because they have space to run multiple events at the same time, but they have a limit
Yeah.
of how many
Yeah.
people can be in. So,
Wow. That's rough.
like the store I go and play
And
Flesh and Blood every week, um, there's usually 2 groups. So there's us and a group that plays Dungeons and Dragons, and then other nights it's like Magic and Digimon, or which
yep.
Digimon is a huge game at that store, which I find fascinating.
That
But
is really interesting. I
yeah,
would expect Yu-Gi-Oh,
I
not
don't
Digimon.
I I don't hear much Yu-Gi-Oh talk there, but I do know Philly has a really
Interesting.
big Yu-Gi-Oh scene.
Hmm.
And then of course Magic. There's
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Magic like 3 nights a week,
Yeah. I mean,
and Flesh and Blood is now two
magic's
night.
everywhere.
Yeah, and Flesh and Blood
Oh,
is now
that's
2 nights a
great.
week. Yeah, Thursday and
Flesh and
Saturday.
blood.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
cool. All right.
but
Quick,
yeah,
quick
yeah,
question. So, if you're told are you told ahead of time before the tournament would start?
yes, yeah.
Like
So
what?
you
Okay,
you're
so you can
building.
adjust your deck.
Yeah, so you're building your deck list for the tournament. So it's not like you have this one deck list that, all right, this is the best deck in the format. I'm going to bring it to every tournament. That it doesn't work that way. It's like you don't know what Terra bonuses are going to be active until,
Yeah.
I mean, typically with included in the announcement of the event, they will say these are the active Terras. Sign up here for the online events that I've been doing. And they I think it adds this. So say like Flame is just really oppressive, like the individual cards. They could, and people were just getting sick of losing to Flame again and again and again. Well, they could really buff Water by one, they get the
Okay.
bonus, and then 2, they can be like, there's a river and a lake active. So, I mean, I think
Bring your
there's,
water decks.
and it can all be, it doesn't have, it's
Yeah.
not nationwide. It can be, because a lot of these
Hmm.
smaller games, they have localized metas where the meta at one shop can be completely different than a meta at another shop.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing with like Flesh and Blood too. Like at uh at our local game store, Oldham was very oppressive, but around the world,
Uh,
the majority, it was Briar. So it's
okay.
all about your local meta, and the store can then
Yeah.
decide, all right, well, this deck is causing issues or just like being oppressive, so let's do something about it. And the store can actually
Yeah.
set those things to change the meta of their local game store, which I find
Hmm.
awesome. And just it's I think it's cool.
That is really cool.
um
Yeah. And
so
and it makes each tournament a little different because
right,
you don't know what's gonna come up.
right.
That's cool.
So,
I like
yeah,
that.
the Terra pages trigger Terra bonuses and the fourth wall effects when you are unable to satisfy a page's requirements with your physical surroundings. So, the base game is your real surroundings actually do matter. So,
Hmm.
um, for competitive nature, they kind of took that away,
Yeah.
which makes sense, and made the new competitive rules. But they have uh, but just for like kitchen table play, like you're playing at home, you're playing with friends, you can, like, there's an elf on the shelf card. I think it's Dinglebell something. Um, But if there's an elf on a shelf within eyesight, it gains a bonus. Oh no, you can't even play it unless there's an elf on the shelf, I think.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then there's a card, Fresno Nightcrawlers, where you can't cast it if you're wearing pants. So you have to be wearing shorts or a skirt or a dress, or you can't be wearing pants.
Or nothing at all.
Or nothing at all, Rip your jeans off on the table, throw down the card. Get thrown out of the game store.
So let me get this straight. The Terra pages can trigger these fourth wall effects if you're not able to do it via your actual physical surrounding.
Right. So
how does that work?
So
take the example of the one we saw earlier where you needed coal within line of sight.
No. So those are different fourth wall effects. It's
okay.
So there are the fourth wall items, and then there are the fourth wall surroundings. If that
got it.
And they've done some rewording, kind of. So they're really trying to push Terra bonuses and fourth wall effects to kind of, because at the beginning they were all fourth wall. Everything was fourth wall, and that got very confusing. So
yes, kind of hence why I was confused already. Okay.
Stuff that is limited to just on the cards, the items, and the actual your surroundings, your Terra. So say we went camping and we're playing on a stump in the middle of the woods. Woods is active.
Yeah.
Forest is active.
Yeah. Like regardless of anything of any of the cards out there,
and it's
woods is active.
And it's nighttime, so night is active.
So night's active too.
Yeah.
Okay,
and there's no clouds in the sky, so stars are active. And yeah.
Can that just stack infinitely? Like if it's at winter time, is winter also active?
Winter, it could be winter, night, stars, forest. Yeah, depending on your surroundings.
So then that's on top of the 6 that you can put in the middle of the field, right?
4. Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
So, there were 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought you were talking about the fourth wall effects.
No.
So those are your surroundings, and the ones the local game store pick do not rotate out. They are not part of that 6. They are always active from the start to the end of the game.
Got it.
And then you can add your own by placing Terras in the middle of the field.
Okay. All right. I get it now.
Technically, you could be in the city and suburbia at the same time somehow. But I mean, and okay, so this
shifting landscapes,
right, right. So this actually answered my question from earlier. There are no maximum number of Terras that you can contract into the arena, and you can contract as many copies of the same Terra as you would like. So you can contract as many as you have in your hand.
Okay.
And you can even, so say you really want whatever Terra to stick, and you think someone else is gonna, that maybe there's decks down the road that like just stack Terras for whatever reason, because you get some crazy bonus for having 4 different types
multiple
of
the same Terra.
If you have all 4 of these bizarre Terras out, deal 1,000 damage or whatever.
Win the game.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can play as many as you want, but they do not stack. So it's not like you get the 2 bonuses, 3 bonuses from, like, if the Terra is active, you get the bonus. You can't stack that. And when a Terra leaves a Terra slot, it's placed into the afterlife.
Makes sense. Okay.
Then you have the Terra bonuses. So it's what gives you the boosts. It's what's indicated above on the, like, whether it says like 10 life points or 10. If it just says 10, that's referring to attack.
Okay.
And then when things say nearby, unless otherwise specified, nearby means within 5 miles or within eyesight. So if you know there's a lake within 5 miles of you or whatever, that would be considered active.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So the more you know your environment, the more you can be like, no.
Right.
There's a lake nearby. I know the Terra's active right now.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So these are the traits.
Alright.
This is what's above the Terra bonuses on a card, on a page.
Okay. I
So,
remember that. Yeah,
yeah.
Spirit was on the other
Yep.
card, the
Yep. That's a trait.
fire one.
So we'll
Got
start
it.
with Bloodsucker. Whenever a beastie with this trait deals damage with an attack, it recovers life points equal to the damage it dealt. So
Nice.
lifesteal.
Yep.
At the start of your turn, you may for burrow. At the start of your turn, you may declare that a beastie with burrow is burrowing. Until the end of that turn, a burrowed beastie cannot declare an attack, be declared as a defender, or activate a power. A burrowed beastie cannot be targeted by any spell, artifact, power, or attack unless the attacking beastie has burrow. So what I like to think
Nice.
about this is you have flight, none, and burrow. So there's like three levels of
3 levels. Awesome.
um,
Yeah. It's like Dig in Pokemon.
yeah.
Till it pops up the next
Yep.
turn.
Yep. Exactly.
Very cool.
There's convert. So you may fatigue a beastie or artifact with this trait to generate one aura of the same type of page. So it's that tap to generate one aura. Or
Got it.
in Magic,
Okay.
tap to trait
Yeah.
one land.
Create a mana.
Yeah.
Yep.
Defender.
Okay.
Beastie or artifact with a defender trait temporarily doubles its maximum life points during an opponent's caster's turn.
Ooh, interesting.
So these are obviously, if it has the defender trait, it is a card
It's
you want
maximum.
to block with. So right,
Okay.
its
Yeah.
maximum health is doubled. But so when its back to your side, its health is brought back down to standard.
So if it has 100 life points,
Yep.
and it's at max health, go up to 200. Cool.
Yep.
If it's dealt 100 damage during the opponent's turn and it goes back to your turn, you're dropping it to 0, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, because it has 100 damage on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
life points drop.
I think, yeah. So we'll get this into this in the gameplay, but that does come back into play.
Gotcha.
Where when, say, I'm attacking your beastie with 100 damage, your beastie has 60 life points. You, the caster, are going to take the additional 40 that went through.
All right. There's trample.
Yeah, everything has trample. Everything has trample.
Got it. That's important.
Yeah. So then we got
Okay.
Destroyer. If a beastie with this trait deals damage using an attack to a beastie or artifact, the damaged beastie or artifact is destroyed.
Death touch. Okay.
Yep. Equipment. If a beastie, artifact, or spell has this trait, you may attach this page to the chosen beastie.
Okay.
So just like equipment in Magic.
Yeah. That's cool.
Fear.
Or like auras in Magic.
Right. Yeah.
Creatures.
Enchantments. Yep. Yeah. Fear. When a beastie with this trait is contracted, you may target an opposing beastie and flip. If heads, target beastie is placed back into its owner's chapter.
Ooh.
So that's that.
Oh yeah, back in your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. First strike, same as Magic. A beastie or spell with this trait deals damage first, whether attacking or defending. If both the attacker or defender have this trait, the attacker flip to determine who deals damage first.
Nice. Okay.
Flash. When a beastie or artifact with this trait is contracted into the arena, flip. If heads, target beastie cannot declare an attack until the end of the caster's next turn. So basically, you flip a coin to see if the target it picks basically is stunned for a turn.
Yeah.
So it can't declare an attack, but it can use a power.
Okay.
So there's a lot of those little keywords and workarounds.
Yeah.
Fleet,
Interesting.
which is the haste. It doesn't enter fatigued.
Mm-hmm.
Flight, beasties with this trait can only be the target of a declared attack by other beasties with flight.
Okay.
So the difference here is if I'm attacking with a beastie with flight and I say I attack you, you can defend with a beastie that does not have flight.
Yes. Okay.
So that's the big
Guess you,
difference than flying in Magic.
guess you can think of it as them like going to attack the caster who's on the ground,
Yep.
hiding behind this beastie here, and the beastie jumps in the way.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Yep. You can't go over the top.
Yep. Makes
Immortal.
sense.
The beastie with this artifact. A beastie or artifact with this trait is not destroyed when its life points is reduced to 0, but can be destroyed by other page
Indestructible.
effects. Yep. So Immortal is indestructible. Infectious.
Okay.
Every time a beastie with this trait destroys another beastie, place a nameless beastie token into the arena with maximum life points equal to this beastie's maximum life points and attacks with damage and aura attack advantage equal to the printed damage and attacks on this beastie. The token is the same aura type as the beastie of this trait.
Okay.
So
So
basically,
whenever it destroys another beastie, it makes a copy of itself?
yes.
Splits? Okay. Weird.
Yep.
It just keeps splitting and splitting and splitting.
Yep.
Though if you're not knocking them out in one hit or they have first strike or something, it could be a smaller beastie that you're splitting each
Correct.
time.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Then there's invisible. No defenders may be declared when a beastie or artifact with this trait declares an attack, and the beastie or artifact may not be the target of a declared attack. So you cannot declare an attack on an invisible beastie, and you cannot defend against. So the invisible beastie can go straight to the caster, even if you have awakened beasties. You cannot block it.
Cool. Unblockable.
Yep.
All right.
Magic proof. A beastie or artifact with this trait cannot be targeted by spells.
Yay! It's Shroud.
Mm-hmm. Regen.
Okay.
For each regen trait a beastie has, it recovers 10 life points at the end of each turn.
Oh, so you could have multiple of the same trait.
Correct.
And it would stack.
Yep.
That's cool.
Self-Destruct. You may fatigue this page on your turn to destroy this page.
I'm assuming that comes with effects that would matter if you destroy it.
Right. And where it said, like on the page we were looking at where it says contract, it'll say destroyed. So when it's destroyed, this happens.
Interesting. Okay.
Spirit. A beastie or artifact with this trait cannot be target of a declared attack. So spirits, you're going to hit with spells, and you're going to want to be able to defend against. Stone Skin. A beastie with this trait reduces all damage it would take outside of attacking or defending to 0. So spells and stuff like that doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Effects that would cause a beastie to lose life points are not prevented by Stone Skin.
Got it. So just damage. It's preventing non-combat damage.
Correct. Trap is a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! A page with this trait may be placed face down from your chapter. You do not pay for it yet. To the arena or face down under a beastie or artifact without paying its aura cost. The process for flipping a page with this trait face up is detailed above in the trap page section. All right, so we'll go to that next. But essentially, you are putting the trap card face down under a beastie so that when that beastie has an attack declared on them, you may pay the cost of the trap card, flip it over, and now that becomes the defender.
Okay.
So beasties can be traps. Traps can be beasties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the trap is a trait of the beastie, like all the others. So that's under, and then that becomes the defender that the attacker may not have wanted to attack. They may have wanted to attack the thing it is attacking, but But the other thing is you have to
Cool.
leave the aura open and awakened so that you
To be
can,
able to flip it.
because if you, we'll go into the further details because that's one of the more
Yeah, we'll
complicated
get
ones.
there.
Unblockable. No defenders may be declared when a beastie or artifact with this trait declares an attack.
Okay. So there is an unblockable. There's
Right.
another one that's a little more wibbly.
Right.
Unblockable.
So yeah,
Okay.
the difference is this one no defenders can be. No one can defend against it, which is the same as invisible, but
Invisible also can't be attacked.
Right. Can't be the target.
Got it. Okay.
And then you have venomous. If a beastie is with this trait is the primary defender, the attacking beastie is inflicted with poison 1.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of these.
Yeah.
There are a lot like status effects where
Yeah.
there's just a symbol and you got to know what it does.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things. They're
Yeah.
the
You
game
learn it as
mechanics,
you go
yeah.
along.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like Magic. When a new mechanic comes out, you learn it.
Right.
So you don't have to remember it later.
Right. And they are coming out with new ones, as there's only 2 sets out right now, so.
Yeah.
So actually now we know all the information about MetaZoo. How do you play MetaZoo? An hour and a half later. Win condition.
It takes a while.
Oh yeah. We're almost through it though.
Yeah.
Winning the win condition, in order to win the game, reduce the life points of the opposing caster to 0. Starting the game. To determine which caster goes first, have the opponent predict the outcome of a die roll or flip a coin. So like evens or odds or flip a coin. They don't mind.
Got it. Okay.
If they successfully predict the result, they choose if they would like to go first or not. If they are incorrect in their prediction, the choice to the first to act falls to you. Each caster shuffles their spellbook and bookmarks 7 pages from the top. Mulligan optional if necessary. Every time you mulligan, you draw 1 less card. You can do it until you're down to 1. The caster going first bookmarks a page at the start of the game and starts the game.
Okay.
So you do draw. There's no advantage for going second, really.
Got it.
Like in Flesh and Blood, the advantage is like in Magic. The first turn, you don't draw, right?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Then,
yeah.
And then in Flesh and Blood, the defender gets to draw back up at the end of their first offense.
Gotcha. So that is
yeah,
good to go second.
Right. And then so you have mulligan. Each caster has unlimited mulligans, but at a cost. Choosing a mulligan can improve a caster's starting hand or replace a bad one. Take the pages in your chapter and place them into your spellbook. Shuffle your spellbook. Bookmark n -1 pages from your spellbook, where n is the number of pages you bookmarked previously. So yeah, again, each time it's -1. When you run out of pages, it does not represent any special win-loss conditions. Ignore any instances where you would bookmark, such as at the start of your turn or page effects. Play continues as normal. If all casters run out of pages in their spellbook, the game ends in a draw. Neither caster wins or loses. So when we were talking about how if one of us runs out of deck, the game continues. If both of us, game's done. It's a draw.
Got it.
Which I find interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating. There's no win or lose if one of them goes, but if both, then
right.
I guess that makes sense because you could end up in stalemates where like no one
and then
wins because
or you're
I can't attack you because you defend and it just
but
wouldn't.
Also to prevent a loss, if you can get them down to, say they have 1 or 2 beasties left, but they're only doing 10 damage a turn and you have a couple hundred health, they might draw themselves out before they're able to take you down to 0. So you can force the draw.
Okay. That's cool. Interesting.
So here is the turn steps. So there are phases, but not your standard phases.
Yeah.
So at the start of your turn, any effects that happen at the start of your turn happen right now before you bookmark a page, which is important. Bookmark a page from the top of your spell book and add it to your chapter. Then you awaken any fatigue pages under your control in the arena unless otherwise stated. So you do anything that happens at the start of your turn, draw a page, draw a card, and then awaken all your auras and beasties and artifacts.
So it's upkeep, draw, untap.
Yeah.
In Magic terms.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
And now, where I was saying earlier, you can do this in any of the following aura. So once per turn, you can contract an aura, but you can do all of these things in any order throughout your turn. You can contract one aura, comes in Awaken. Now, what I find interesting is it says most aura pages have no cost. Right now, they all have no cost. So down the road, we'll see.
There might be, yeah.
Contract a Terra page into the arena as many times as you'd like. You may place a Terra page from your chapter into any available Terra slot. If no Terra slots are available, follow these steps. Remove the Terra from slot 1. Remove the Terra pages down by 1. Place the new Terra page on slot 6. Repeat if necessary. Terras removed go to the afterlife. Place a trap page. You can place a trap page face down into the arena as many times as you'd like. You can contract a beastie, artifact, spell, or potion as many times as you'd like. You may use awakened auras to pay the cost of a page in your chapter to contract it. Beasties or artifacts are placed into the arena when contracted, while spells and potions are placed into the cemetery once their effects are resolved. Use powers as many times as you'd like during your turn by fatiguing a beastie or artifact. Pages must be awakened in order to use their power again. So that's where the lightning in the bottle comes back. So with Loveland, you can fatigue it to lock something down, and then awaken it with the lightning in the bottle, and then fatigue it again.
Oh no! Oh, that's so mean.
Yeah, and then there's another one. I think it's Smoke in a Bottle that saves it. So if Loveland's your only thing out on the board, if you play it as an instant to stop an attack, and if Loveland is the only beastie you have out, it cannot be attacked again.
That's great.
Yeah. Let's see.
Really cool.
Once per trap, move any face down trap page as many times as you'd like. You may move a face down trap page that is not under another page to a beastie or artifact that you control in the arena that does not have a face down trap page underneath it already. So each one can only have one underneath it. And if the trap page is not currently under something, you can move it under something once per trap per turn.
Okay. So that's actually interesting because most stuff, once you have it down on the field, you can't move it.
Right.
Traps are kind of an exception to that. If they're not under anything,
as long as they're face down.
Got it. Okay.
Once they've been flipped, they are now a beastie, or spell or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yep.
You can declare an attack and resolve combat as many times as you'd like during your turn. You may fatigue a beastie in the arena to declare that it is attacking. So all of this stuff you can do in any order, and you don't have to do all your attacks at once. You don't have to put all your traps down at once. You can do it in any order you want. End of turn. Any effects that happen at the end of your turn happen now. Pass turn to your opponent, and then it repeats. So any questions on the turn order? It's pretty
straightforward. Yeah. I like that you can kind of, again, do multiple things in a turn. So like you're not locked into, I already forgot because my main phase is over.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we have the steps for combat. So this is probably the most different from Magic the game gets. Choose a beastie to become an attacking beastie and fatigue the page. The attacking beastie selects a target to attack. Selections include caster, beastie, trap page that is not under a page in the arena. So if there is a trap that is not under a page, you can declare that as a target. Artifact or equipment, only if it specifies it can be attacked. Most equipment can. If you target a page with a page trap under it or a trap page by itself, flip the page face up. If the trap page is a beastie or artifact, it is automatically fatigued and becomes a defender. Spell or potion. If it's a spell or potion trap, it resolves its effects immediately. If a face down page is revealed during the game and it does not have the trap trait, the caster who placed the page face down immediately loses the game. So if you play a fake trap, if you play a page that is not a trap as a trap, you lose. It's just cheating. Oh, wait, we may have lost AJ.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go. Okay, we're good.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay,
hello.
You can hear me? Good.
All
right. So
yes, so you lose the game
if
I
you
believe.
play a trap. Yeah.
If you put a trap down that
Yep.
it was not a trap.
Yep. It's a trap. Let's see.
Yep. Okay, that's bad.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Okay, the opposing caster that controls the target of an original attack can declare any number of beastie defenders by fatiguing
For 3?
them. Wait, did we skip anything? No, we didn't. Yeah, we're good. The opposing caster that controls the target of the original attack can declare any number of beastie defenders by fatiguing them, then select one of the defenders to use if any are available. The defender becomes the primary defender of the original attack. Only awakened beasties can defend. The beastie defending the attack becomes the primary defender. Check the beastie attacks first. Choices: if neither the attack or the primary defender have the first strike trait, the attacker goes first. If the attacker has first strike trait, the primary defender does not, the attacker goes first. If the attacker does not have the first strike trait and the primary defender does have the first strike trait, the defender goes first. So we talked about that before. If both the attacker, we talked about that. If both attackers have first strike, you flip a coin. Resolve the attack in this order. The beastie attacking first resolves their attack. So it does their damage. It does the different effects. And then if there's no primary defender left in the arena, combat ends. If the beastie that declared the attack is no longer in the arena, combat ends. The primary defender resolves its attack. AJ, there? Oh, you back?
Oh, are you back?
Yep, I'm here. Are you back?
Almost.
Oh, almost.
You're still a little staticky.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep reading this. Activate any attack, any effects of the attack. This includes.
Here, yes. All
We're
right.
good. We're good.
I'm back too.
Yay!
Almost.
Resolving an attack in order. Activate any effects of the attack. This includes the effect text of the attack and icons next to the attack. Apply aura type advantage and aura attack advantage if possible for the amount of damage. Apply terra bonuses. So you're stacking all of these bonuses for the attack. And then you deal the total damage attack to the defenders. If the damage is greater than or equal to the current life points, destroy the page. If there are multiple opposing defender pages in combat, the controller of the attack must allocate the damage in multiples of 5 between the defending pages, however they wish. If at least 5 damage must be allocated to each defender. So if you stack a bunch of defenders against this one attacker, you basically break down your total attack damage into clusters of 5, and then you distribute them however you want, but at least 5 has to go to each defender. Does that make sense? So I'm attacking you with, say I'm attacking you, the caster, for 100 damage, and you are then declaring 5 defenders. I can split that 100 damage, say 10 to each of the beasties defending, and then the remaining would
So
be...
unlike in Magic, where you can assign 0 to a creature defending if you want.
Yeah, you have a minimum of 5. Any remaining damage... What? Oh, shoot. Lost him again. Hey! Alright.
I hear ya.
I gotta reset this back up.
Sorry about all this.
No. It's on my end. I don't have a strong internet connection down here.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Because you're hanging out in the basement.
Yeah. No, I'm in the living room.
Okay.
So we left off where you have to assign at least 5 damage to all the defenders.
Yes.
Yeah. So it has to spread out, and then it ends combat. But any remaining damage that cannot be allocated to a defender, say you, in that instance where I'm dealing 100 damage to a 60 beastie, the 40 goes to the original target, which could be the caster, or it could be another beastie. So the trample,
okay.
But the trample doesn't always go to the caster. The trample goes to the original target.
So you don't always trample over to the caster if the caster wasn't your original target.
Right.
If you were targeting a beastie to begin with, all of it's going to go to that beastie.
Right.
And nothing tramples over to the caster. Okay.
But if it kills everything and there's nothing left, there's no defenders left, then that goes to the caster.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So the damage is all, once you're doing the damage, that damage is always dealt. It's just where it goes.
Got it. Okay.
And then you repeat with another attacking beastie, and then you can just you keep doing that. So yeah, any questions on combat?
No, it seems again pretty straightforward. Once you based on what we've already talked about in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll move to actions. Actions are choices made by a caster, such as contracting a page, using an effect or power, declaring an attack, or moving a trap page. After a caster takes an action, priority to take an action is given to the opposing caster. If there are multiple opposing casters, which this game can be played in like a commander style format, priority is passed clockwise to the caster that took the action.
Okay.
So priority is a caster's ability to take an action in response to an opposing caster's action. Casters can only contract pages or use effects with any time whenever they want, whenever they have priority. So you still need priority to play with any time. At the start of each turn, before the active caster bookmarks, the active caster gains priority. Then, after the active caster chooses to take an action or not, priority will be given to the opposing caster before moving to the next step. At the end of each turn, before applying poison damage, the active caster gains priority, and then after the active caster chooses to take an action or not, priority will be given to the opposing caster before moving to the next step. Anytime a caster takes an action, priority is passed to the opposing caster. So whenever, so say I play a card, I contract a card, that gives priority to the opposing caster to play any of those at any time. So you can't play, one caster can't play 2 pages back to back without, there is a phase in between where the opposing player can have priority to play one of those cards.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's
So
just like Magic.
a window for
There's
an instant.
always a window. Yeah. Okay.
Resolution chains in MetaZoo pages will have effects that can be affected at any time, activated at any time, like Chupacabra, or pages that can be played on your opponent's turn, like Reflection, can lead to a chain of pages that are played in response to one another. The order or resolution would be that the page resolves first. Last page resolves first.
The stack.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Exactly. So that is all the gameplay stuff. I just want to take a quick look here what they have. So okay, so they actually have a list of the fourth wall items that are.
Yeah.
So these are the fourth wall items. Some pages may reference items that wouldn't normally exist in the game, like dirt, a source of fire, or there must be a shadow in the arena to contract this page. Text that interact with anything outside of the game is considered a fourth wall effect. If a page has a fourth wall effect, it is indicated by having a star next to its text. It's also good to note that some pages, Terra, Beastie, etc., can help trigger fourth wall effects of the other pages in the arena. If you are playing for fun, you can use as many items as you'd like, depending on the situation, location, etc. But in tournaments, some items are restricted or deactivated, and you are limited to the number of items that you can have. Below are the current list of items you can use during a tournament. So these are the list of fourth wall items that are legal in competitive tournaments.
I like the stipulation that it is an orange pumpkin.
Yes.
Because if you bring a white pumpkin, you're not going to get anything out of it.
No, it has to be an orange pumpkin. I want to know if the cards count as a piece of cardboard.
Right? Piece of cardboard.
Yeah. I like how there's a NASA symbol.
Yep.
We're getting a UFO set this summer, so that's exciting.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, the next one's Wilderness, which is next month. And then there's the UFO this summer, and then Seance is in the fall.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like how vampire fangs or jewelry are in the same
yeah.
the same thing.
You know, basically the same.
Ownership versus control. The owner of a page is the caster who brings it to the game, while the controller is the caster who currently has control of the page. If a page would be placed into one of the areas, you always place the page into its owner's area.
Sure.
And then last, there's the tournament rules. So this is the tournament policy. Goes over the organization, tournament structure, format. We don't need to get into this. This is a whole nother video, whole nother thing.
Oh yeah, but there's a lot here.
Yeah, so I guess we can just kind of wrap up. And any final thoughts or opinions now that we've gone through all the rules?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I really enjoyed the fact that the arena has something to do with how you set your cards down. So
right.
It's not just like, you know, however you would normally want. It affects the game. If you have something in front, it could be attacked more readily than something further back.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's
like
I mean, I'll be honest. When I first saw the game, I completely wrote it off. I was like, this is silly. This is ridiculous. And then I was just like, it can't be that ridiculous. So I just I'd dig a little, I'd read a little, I'd see something about it. And then I got more and more intrigued. And then I was like, wait, no, there's something here. And
it's got a very classic Pokemon feel to it.
Oh, yeah. With
the look of
the art, especially.
Too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a big draw to it is going to be that it, on the face value, is very complicated, but you can still have that kid playground rules kind of thing where like when you were a kid and you were playing Pokemon and you were just like screw energies, screw all the actual rules, like this does 120 damage.
My chars are just attacks.
Yeah. I win the game. And I think this will lead to that. And I know they're coming out with a show, a couple of video games,
Oh
a
wow,
digital platform to play the
that's
game
excellent.
on. I know they're working on an RPG, and
Cool.
that'll follow the story. And they are putting out free story on their website. They're like
Nice.
illustrated stories, so there's like a couple paragraphs and then an image and a couple paragraphs and an image, and it's walking you through the main character's story.
That's
Uh,
great.
but yeah, they're
I love
firing on
that.
all cylinders. There's stuff announcements happening every day. It's wild, but it's been fun for sure. Met a lot of
Super
really cool
cool.
people too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially new games like this will bring out a lot of new blood. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Great.
A lot of people will turn their nose up on it, but I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
foresee it dying out quickly. I foresee it actually
Yeah.
making. Today it launched in Walmart. You can buy MetaZoo product at Walmart today, which is wild.
Nice.
So you go and you see the
Yeah,
Pokemon, you see the Yu-Gi-Oh, you see the Magic, and there is MetaZoo.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, there's special products. Like you can't just go buy a booster box or whatever. Like there are these special like
Yeah.
blister pack kind of things. But I mean, just
Yeah,
being there is pretty cool.
that's
But
excellent. Yeah.
as we wrap up on around 2 hours, is there any other closing statements that thank you for being a good sport and
No,
hanging through
not at
this
all.
with me? It
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Oh, this was
Um,
really fascinating to learn. Yeah.
yeah, I've been really eager to show you this because you showed me Magic, so I was
Mhm.
like, all right.
Yay.
Or brought me back into Magic from my high school days. And
Perfect.
yeah, it's
Repaid the
just
favor.
yeah, it's next time I'm over, I'm gonna leave a couple decks with you
We'll
just
play.
so yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I would love that.
it's fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Need to see this blue deck Loveland.
I have it. It's upstairs. It's ready. A gameplay
Oh,
video.
can't wait.
So I'm gonna edit. I still have to edit that video, but John and I did a gameplay video where he played his
Oh,
upgraded light deck, and I played my Loveland deck that I talked about in my Nightfall theme deck upgrade guide video. And I feel bad because I wanted to restart because John had a really bad first couple of hands or first couple of turns, and
oh
I was just like, "You want to
no.
restart? You want to restart?" He's like, "No, I got this." And he's like, "Or maybe not, but I don't care." And but yeah,
Great.
it didn't go well for him, but it was fun. That'll go up before
Mm.
this one, but
Awesome.
yeah, so no spoilers. But it's it's nasty. It's basically if Loveland uh if he sticks, it's a rough ride.
Oh man, gotta get rid of them. There's only
Yeah.
two in the deck, right?
Yep. But
Yeah.
there are fetches. There are fetches. But
I'm sure is there any graveyard recursion, anything to get him back
not in that deck.
from I
No,
think Limbo?
not in
Hmm.
that deck. Um, so yeah, you have two shots at him. But yeah,
And
once he's
gotta keep him around.
yeah, because he's magic proof, so you can't target him with spells,
That's
and
true.
then you
That's
get
true.
you put
Yeah.
out a bunch, and then if he's alone, you have the dark
Smoke
potion,
bomb.
the smoke bomb to
That's
keep him
yeah.
safe. And if he's not alone, then you have a bunch of defenders with
Yep.
stone
Guys
skin
just fed.
to with the crab to block, and then your whole thing is a draw engine. Oh, and I forgot to mention Loveland. He has he has an effect that as long as he is in the arena, you draw an extra card at the beginning of your turn.
Gosh,
So if you have two of
that's
them out there,
insane.
you're drawing 3 cards at the beginning of a turn. And he has another ability where you can blow him a kiss and he will cast the spell for you. So if it depends, if the card effect would be different if he was the caster, then you can blow him a kiss and he will cast the spell for you.
Weird. Okay.
I haven't found
Hmm.
a card. I haven't used it, because I haven't found a card that I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
he should cast this, not me. But
Okay.
I'm maybe predicting like something gain whatever life points, so you can increase his life points or whatever,
Oh
because
yeah.
he has low life points. So maybe if they put out a card
Hmm.
that does that. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
That's neat.
cool. Well,
Very cool.
thanks again for joining me. We'll have to have you
Yeah,
back
no
on
problem.
soon, and
Definitely.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. See ya, everybody.